When is the best time to give my child a smartphone? What if they need to reach me for safety? What if they just get a burner phone, even if I don't give them a smartphone? I've spoken on saving children from digital destruction over the last 8 years in 9 different cities, dozens and dozens of speaking engagements. And at this point, I've heard just about every objection that you can hear, which is why I'm producing this video, one of my favorite topics, which is responding to every objection. I'm Dr. Johann, clinical psychologist, thousands of clinical hours, 15 years of experience mentoring young people. And this video is about answering all your objections. I, as a parent, am addicted to my smartphone. So how can I expect my children to do something that I'm not asking of myself? First, what this question is really asking. This question is really asking, hey, I feel guilty about my own screen use, and I feel guilty to tell my children to do something that I'm not doing. So I'm going to lower the demands in order to feel better about myself. Yes, it is good to model good behavior. It is good to set an example for them, but that is not a prerequisite for protecting them. Imagine a father is an alcoholic. That does happen. Maybe he does have an intemperate usage of alcohol, but does that justify him in giving his 8th grader shots at the dinner table in order to assuage his own guilt? No, he has to do what is best for his child, even if he's not modeling that behavior himself. Ideally, you do both, but they're not mutually exclusive, and one is not a requirement for the other. Next objection. If I don't give my child a smartphone, they're just going to rebel and get a burner phone from one of their friends. What is this question really saying? I can't control everything, so why even try to control anything? My first response to this point is, if your child is in a situation that they have such little regard for parental authority that they're going to flout it at the first possible occasion, you have a much deeper problem than a smartphone issue. And that problem needs to be addressed. And that problem had a long backstory. And it's probably going to be difficult to address that authority problem. In fact, you may even want to just focus on your younger children at this point. I know that sounds harsh, but unless you're willing to take extreme measures, you're going to be setting yourself up for World War III with your child. Now, I do advocate the extreme measures approach, but you have to be confident and consistent in following through on that. Okay, all that aside, even if they do get the burner phone, my point here is you're not the one providing it to them. There's a difference between providing weed to your child yourself versus not doing it and knowing that, well, they might actually go off to a friend and buy it anyways. Just because they're going to do it doesn't mean you have to be the source of it. You have control over your own actions, and that's what God is judging us for, not what someone does with their own freedom. Objection 3, what if there's an emergency and they need to reach me? What if they get hurt? What if I need to contact them in an emergency? What this question is really saying, I'm an anxious mom and I need to be able to track the location of my child at any time in order for me to feel more comfortable. I want you to consider that for the entire history of human civilization until 20 years ago, there was no way of contacting one's child at any time through a cell phone, let alone a smartphone. All of a sudden, 2010 was that 16 years ago, these technologies came out, and now it's an essential requirement for human safety because we all know that in the past, children just dropped dead as soon as they turned 16 because they didn't have a smartphone on them. Let's talk about the actual risk. More likely to be struck by lightning than to get kidnapped, more likely to be born as a conjoined twin to be kidnapped. It would take 700,000 years for a child to get kidnapped, probability-wise, assuming that he wanted to get kidnapped. These events are very unlikely. What about car safety? Well, they're much safer without the smartphone in their car. Car accidents are one of the leading causes of death for young people. And we all know that smartphones do not help our attentiveness when we're in the car, certainly not with a teenager who has very little self-control. Yeah, urgent situations arise, emergencies happen, but guess what? Your children can handle it. And that's how they learn confidence. That's how they grow in self-esteem. That's how they learn life skills. I do know a young person whose parents did not give them a smartphone or even a cell phone. He just received a kind of unusual device that just had one button on it. And when you press that button, it called a pre-programmed number, which was one of his parents' numbers. He was driving on the highway, ran out of gas, pulled over, called his parents through this one button technique. They didn't pick up. What does he do? He waits. A police car pulls up, asks him what's the matter. He explains the situation. The officer drives him to get gas for his car. He goes on his way. Guess what? He learned a lesson. He learned check your gas tank before you leave your house. That's a valuable lesson. He also learned that When things don't work out, when quasi emergency happens, things will work out. I'll be able to figure it out. I'll be able to survive. And isn't that a much more important lesson? Next objection, also one of my favorite ones, though it annoyed me a lot at first. Screens are normal. We need to embrace the good things of the world. So we should really be just teaching our children how to use smartphones, social media, video games well, rather than running away from them. So of course, this does have a positive aspect to it. Yeah, it is good to embrace the good things of the world and to live with naturalness. The question here is what I believe is toxic screen use, social media, video games, pornography, all of which are primarily accessed through the smartphone. Is that something that we want to embrace? And yeah, it is normal, but should it be normal? You know what else is normal? Contraception is normal. No fault divorce is normal. There are many things, dropping bombs on poor countries is normal. There are many things that are normal in our society that should not be normal. And in fact, to be Christian means to be countercultural. So we will have to swim against the current. And I would just advise people to examine their conscience and look around you, reflect on the state of society, and ask yourself, should these things be normal? Should video games, social media, pornography, smartphones be normal? And is there a way of using it well? Well, some of these things I'm skeptical of. Video games, social media, pornography, I'm skeptical that they can be used well. Of course, pornography can never be used well. Even smartphones are very, very, very difficult to use well. I would say, even if it's possible to use it well, your child is not in a situation of development where they're likely to be able to use it well. Give them a chance to use it well in the future by protecting them from giving it too early. Another good objection, my child is very mature. He can handle it. He is a good, clean child. That smartphone goes in their hands. He was a good, clean child. I can't tell you the number of times that this objection is proven false by experience. The headmaster of a very prestigious school on the East Coast. And he and one of the guys on his administrative council said, when that smartphone is in their hands, in a matter of weeks, they're exposed to pornography, that in the entire school, they can count on one hand the number of students who have a smartphone who have not been exposed to pornography. Is that of hundreds of students? Do you want to take that risk? Maybe if you like gambling, it's exciting to take that risk. Feels a little bit like roulette. Hey, we can spin the wheel and maybe my kid will survive. But I think most people would recognize that this is not worth risking your child's soul on. Another favorite of mine, I think I've said that 3 times now, so maybe I need to be more discerning about my favorites. But this one is, I need to teach them how to use it well while they're under my roof. Okay, this one is very persuasive to a lot of parents. What this question is really saying is, I think I can outsmart big tech. This is the way I would think about this objection. What does anyone need to use a smartphone well? Virtue, good habits, self-control, fortitude, prudence. Are these things aided by having a smartphone in your hand? Do you grow in self-control by having a smartphone in your hand? You personally, if you have a smartphone, I do. Do I grow in self-control and fortitude by having a smartphone in my hands? No, it actively erodes it. You don't help an alcoholic to grow in temperance by installing a mini bar in their closet so that they can practice self-control. That's not how it works. We don't grow in virtue by having the smartphone in our hands. We grow in virtue through the other responsibilities we get throughout the day. So vis-a-vis your children, do they do their chores? Do they have demanding responsibilities? Do they take care of themselves? Do they take care of their younger siblings? Do they take care of you sometimes when you're sick? Do they cook meals for the family? Can they plan their whole schedule by themselves? How does their locker look like? Is it clean? Is it well ordered? What about their room? What about their car, their book bag? These are ways to help your child grow in virtue, to indirectly and more importantly, prepare them to be able to use a smartphone well. Do they do their homework and other assignments without being asked to do so? Do they wake themselves up on time? Do they sleep in until 11 or 12 on weekends, or do they still maintain a healthy rise hour even when they don't have to? These are the things to focus on to prepare your child so that in the future, when they're 25, 30, 35, prefrontal cortex is developed, they have at least a shot of being able to use these extremely powerful but dangerous technologies well. The next objection is also a favorite of mine. They'll be socially isolated if they don't have a smartphone. This is usually moms with regards to their daughters, and they're thinking about this, sometimes with their sons as well. This question is saying, I'm terrified my child won't have any friends. And I believe friendship comes from being accepted by the crowd based on your material possessions. Is that really the message you want to give your child? If a child needs a smartphone to have friends, if a child needs social media to have friends, she does not have friends and she does not understand what friendship is. Give your child the possibility of true friendship, of in-person interaction without distraction, of true confidence, of being able to be in a group of people without an external crutch, a safety behavior, we call it in the literature. This is where real life skills, real friendships develop. Actually, the most popular kid that I knew a few years ago, he didn't have a smartphone. He didn't have a cell phone. He didn't have social media. He had so much more time to spend with friends. He spent a lot of time on service opportunities, volunteering. He was very cheerful, friendly, introduced himself to strangers. He was really fun to be around. That doesn't happen to people who are addicted to smartphones. Did you know there is a bidirectional relationship between social media use and loneliness? The lonelier you are, the more social media you use, predictable. And also, the more social media you use, the lonelier you are. So this is actually not helping with social skills. These are antisocial devices. In fact, give your child the gift of a real childhood, of real social development by letting them play outside, letting them visit their friends more often, having an open door policy with your child's friends that the kids can come over at any time, have the pantry stocked, the fridge is full. The only rule is you can't be on a device. You can't even have a device in the house because you're going to go up to the bedroom and show your child pornography. Happened to a 10-year-old girl that I knew. That's not cool. Have you noticed how children don't know how to talk to adults anymore? They don't know how to look you in the eye. They don't know how to shake your hand. They don't know how to introduce themselves to strangers. That's what happens when kids are glued to a smartphone. I actually know a lot of very good children who have been raised very well. And I can tell in 30 seconds how they've been raised. They look me straight in the eye, they smile, they introduce themselves, or if I've seen them before, they ask how my day was, they give me a firm handshake. It puts a smile on my face. These are the real social skills, the real life skills that you can teach your child. And what a treasure that is. How grateful they will be for that. They will not be grateful in 10, 20 years because they have no spine, no willpower because they've been glued to a phone. Here's one that's a little less common. What if their work requires them to have a smartphone? So here we just need to think about trade-offs, as with so many things in life. Is a $2 an hour raise worth the price of your child's soul? So it's possible that they are mature enough to handle it. But if they are, they will be showing that in a dozen other ways in their own lives. As I've indicated before, you can go through those previous examples. I would also just double check and really push back on whether the technology that the work is requiring is actually necessary. Oftentimes there's just an assumption that everybody's going to go along, but if you actually push back on it, then in fact, you may not even be required to use it. I had a gym membership that said they required a smartphone app to scan in, and I just never got it. They never stopped me. Yeah, I went to play pickleball the other day, and you had to sign the waiver through your smartphone. And I just told them, I don't even have a phone on me right now because if I can avoid it, I try not to even travel with a phone on me. And the guy just laughed and said, wow, I can't believe that. And he just let me in for free, actually. So that worked out pretty well. So the guy just laughed and let me in without filling out the paperwork, which is more convenient to me. I've been doing this for years. Not sure if I've heard a good objection yet to giving your child a smartphone, or rather an objection to not giving your child a smartphone. If you have any objections I haven't addressed, please post them in the comments. I'd love to see them. I hope this was helpful. I love speaking on this topic. If you have a church group, school, community that wants to hear it, reach out to me, check out my website. You can contact me there, and I hope to see you in the next video.